Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. This is WireDogSec, back with another video for you guys. In today's video, we are going to continue on with the Junior Penetration Tester learning path. This is also part of Complete Beginner. As you can see here, we are in the Web Hacking Fundamentals area, and we are on the Burp Suite, the Basics room. An introduction to using Burp Suite for web application pen testing. Let's go ahead and dive into it. Welcome to Burp Suite Basics. This particular room aims to understand the basics of Burp Suite web application security testing framework. Our focus will revolve around the following key aspects. 1. A thorough introduction to Burp Suite. 2. A comprehensive overview of the various tools available within the framework. 3. Detailed guidance on the process of installing Burp Suite on your system. 4. Navigating and configuring Burp Suite. We will also introduce the core of the Burp Suite framework, which is the Burp proxy. It is important to note that this room primarily serves as a foundational resource for acquiring knowledge about Burp Suite. Subsequent rooms in the Burp Suite module will adopt a more practical approach. Thus, this room will contain a greater emphasis on the theoretical content. If you have not yet utilized Burp Suite, it is recommended to carefully read the provided information and actively engage with the tool. Experimentation is essential for grasping the fundamentals of the framework. Combining the information presented here with hands-on exploration will establish a strong foundation for utilizing the framework. This will significantly assist you in future rooms. So basically, you're saying this is going to be a lot of reading. All right, task number 2 here. What is Burp Suite? In essence, Burp Suite is a Java-based framework designed to serve as a comprehensive solution for conducting web application penetration testing. It has become the industry standard tool for hands-on security assessments of web and mobile applications, introducing or including those that rely on application program interface APIs. Simply put, Burp Suite captures and enables manipulation of all HTTP/HTTPS traffic between a browser and a web server. This fundamental capability forms the backbone of the framework. By intercepting requests, users have the flexibility to route them to various components within the Burp Suite framework, which we will explore in upcoming sections. The ability to intercept, view, and modify web requests before they reach the target server, or even manipulate responses before they are received by a browser, makes Burp Suite an invaluable tool for manual web application testing. Right, this is the pretty much the gold standard, as I said here, of web application testing, penetration testing, bug bounty stuff like that. And then it deals with web application security. You're probably going to be using Burp or come across it. The other alternative is OWASP Zap, which is similar to Burp. It's a free open source tool out there, whereas Burp has a free version, which is the community version, which we'll probably go over here in a second. But anyway, this is an example infographic thing that they present here, right? You got your client, which is your laptop or whatever, which is running Burp proxy. And then you got it going to the actual, like, I guess, server on the internet somewhere, right? And then you're messing with stuff inside of Burp, right? You're manipulating the data, the information inside of Burp. Burp Suite is available in different editions. For our purposes, we will focus on the Burp Suite Community Edition, which is the free version, which is freely accessible for non-commercial use within legal boundaries. However, it's worth noting that Burp Suite also offers professional and enterprise editions, which come with advanced features and required licensing. Number 1, Burp Suite Professional is an unrestricted version of Burp Suite Community. It comes with features such as an automated vulnerability scanner, a fuzzer/brute forcer that isn't rate limited, saving projects for future use, and reports generation, a built-in API to allow integration with other tools, etc., etc. In short, Burp Suite Professional is a highly potent tool, making it a preferred choice for professionals in the field. Number 2, Burp Suite Enterprise. In contrast to the community and professional editions, is primarily utilized for continuous scanning. It features an automated scanner that periodically scans web applications for vulnerabilities, similar to how tools like Nessus perform automated infrastructure scanning. Unlike the other editions, which allow manual attacks from a local machine, Burp Suite Enterprise resides on a server and constantly scans the target web applications for potential vulnerabilities. Due to requiring a license for Burp Professional and Enterprise editions, we will focus on the core feature sets provided by the Burp Suite Community Edition. The provided demonstrations utilize Burp Suite for Windows, however, the functionality remains consistent with the versions installed on the attack box. Which edition of the Burp Suite runs on a server and provides constant scanning. Well, that was the enterprise version as we saw up here, so it's going to be Burp Suite Enterprise. I've only used Burp Suite Community and Professional, and with Professional, the last time I used it, you couldn't just sign up with like a Yahoo email or Gmail account. You had to have an actual business email account. Burp Suite is frequently used when attacking web applications and blank applications. This is going to be mobile applications. So go ahead and submit this answer. Task number 3. Features of Burp Community. Although Burp Community offers a more limited feature set compared to the Professional Edition, it still provides an impressive array of tools that are highly valuable for web application testing. Let's explore some of the key features. You got the proxy. The Burp proxy is the most renowned aspect of Burp Suite. It enables interception and modification of requests and responses while interacting with web applications. Now, there's quite a few items to read here, so I'm just going to read a few of them. Make sure to pause the video and read the rest yourself, or just go to the actual room. Repeater, another well-known feature. Repeater allows for capturing, modifying, and resending the same request multiple times. This functionality is particularly useful when creating payloads through trial and error, e.g., NSQLi, SQL injection, structured query language injection, or testing the functionality of an endpoint for vulnerabilities. Intruder, despite rate limitations in Burp Suite Community, Intruder allows for spraying endpoints with requests. It is commonly utilized for brute force attacks or fuzzing endpoints. And you got decoder, compare, and sequencer. Beyond the built-in features, the Java code base of Burp facilitates the development of extensions to enhance the framework's functionality. These extensions can be written in Java, Python using the Java Jython interpreter, or Ruby using the Java JRuby interpreter. The Burp Suite Extender module allows for quick and easy loading of extensions into the framework, while the marketplace known as BApp Store enables downloading of third-party modules. While certain extensions may require a professional license for integration, there are still a considerable number of extensions available for Burp Community. For instance, Logger++ module can extend the built-in logging functionality of Burp Suite. All right, some questions. Which Burp Suite module allows us to intercept requests between ourselves and the target? Well, that's going to be the proxy. That's like the most well-known thing inside of Burp Suite, right? What Burp Suite tool would we use to brute force a login form? Well, that's going to be Intruder, right? To send multiple or to send a lot of requests out, right? So Intruder, and the next task, we're going to talk about installation. So task number 4. Burp Suite is one of those tools that is very useful to have around, whether for web or mobile application assessments, pen testing, bug bounty hunting, or even debugging features in web app development. Here's a guide on installing Burp Suite on different platforms, so check it out if you're interested. Note, if you use the attack box, Burp Suite's already installed, so you can skip this step. And be sure to read through this. I already have it installed. I'm going to use the attack box if needed, so be sure to read through this, learn how to install or download and install Burp Suite if you don't have it already on your Kali box, on your another Linux box, Mac OS, Windows, etc. And let's see here. If you have chosen not to use the attack box, ensure that you copy a Burp. All right. So I'm going to use the attack box whenever we get around to it. Task number 5, the dashboard. Hey everybody, just a quick little blurb here. As you can see here, most people that view my channel are not subscribers. If you're new here, please consider subscribing to the channel. If you're enjoying the video, please consider hitting the like button. It helps get me in the algorithm, helps spread the good word out there, helps bring more people and increase our glorious community here. All right, I'm all about helping out others. I know what it's like to come up in cybersecurity or even try to get into cybersecurity and not knowing where to look. I'm just having this channel up so I can help out other people. All right, that's all I got. All right, task 5, the dashboard. You may use the pre-installed Burp Suite Community Version Edition in your task box. To launch the attack box, we already did that. All right, we've already on this section here, so once us just click past all this. So you can click next, use the defaults, and start Burp. So let's go ahead and continue on here. Upon opening Burp Suite for the first time, you might encounter a screen with training options. It's highly recommended to go through these training materials when you have the free time. If you don't see the training screen or in subsequent sessions, you will be presented with the Burp dashboard, which may seem overwhelming at first. However, it will soon become familiar. The Burp dashboard is divided into 4 quadrants as labeled in the counterclockwise order, starting from the top left. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at this picture. 1, task. The task menu allows you to define background task that Burp Suite will perform while you use the application. In the Burp Suite community, the default live passive crawl task, which automatically logs the page visited, is sufficient for our purposes in this module. Burp Suite Professional offers additional features like on-demand scans. And that's this section here, as you can see in the screenshot. Number two, event log. The event log provides information about the actions performed by Burp Suite, such as starting the proxy, as well as details about the connections made through Burp. And number three, issue activity. This section is specific to the Burp Suite Professional. It displays the vulnerabilities identified by automated scanner ranked by severity and filterable based on the certainty of the vulnerability. So that's what it looks like. You have the Pro version, which we don't have. And 4 is down here, the advisory stuff here. So let's see what it says. The advisory section provides more detailed information about the identified vulnerabilities, including references and suggested recommendations. The information can be exported into a report. In Burp Suite community, this section may not show any vulnerabilities. Throughout the various tabs in Windows Burp Suite, you will notice question marks like the following here. But we already have one there. Clicking on these icons opens a new window with helpful information specific to that section. These help icons are invaluable when you need assistance or clarification on a particular feature, so make sure to utilize them effectively. Yeah, so click on the question mark if you're unfamiliar with something in here, apparently. And I'm clicking on it, but nothing is happening. Anyway, let's continue on. By exploring the different tabs and functionalities of Burp Suite, you will gradually become familiar with its capabilities. Answer questions. What menu provides information about the actions performed by Burp Suite, such as starting the proxy and details about connections made through Burp? All right, now if we scroll up here, we can see that it's going to be the event log. So let's go ahead and copy this and paste and continue on. Okay, it just took a while to load up finally. That's the thing about the attack machine. Sometimes it's slow, sometimes it's not. But let's continue on here to task number 6, navigation. In Burp Suite, the default navigation is primarily done through the top menu bars, which allow you to switch between modules and access various subtabs. Within each module, the subtabs appear in a second menu bar directly below the main menu bar. Here's how the navigation works. Number 1, module selection. The top row of the menu bar displays the available modules in Burp Suite. You can click on each module to switch between them. For example, the Burp proxy module is selected in the image below. So if you click on proxy, so it looks like target C. Number 2, subtabs. If a selected module has multiple subtabs, they can be accessed through the second menu bar that appears directly below the main menu bar. These subtabs often contain module-specific settings and options. For example, in the image above, the proxy intercept subtab is selected within the burp module or proxy module, and they're talking about this here. All right, number 3, detaching tabs. If you prefer to view multiple tabs separately, you can detach them into separate windows. To do this, go to Window option in the application menu above the module selection bar. From there, choose Detach option, and the selected tab will open in a separate window. The detached tabs can be reattached using the same method. So be sure to try that out if you're interested in separating out these tabs. I'm not going to do it. Burp Suite also provides keyboard shortcuts for quick navigation to key tabs. By default, the following shortcuts are available. So be sure to read through these shortcuts, memorize them if you plan to. And we're going to get down to some questions here. It says, what tab? Control plus Shift plus P will switch us to. That's going to be the proxy tab. So I'm just going to copy and paste this information, and then it will continue on to task number 7. We're going to talk about options. Before diving into the Burp proxy, let's explore the available options for configuring Burp Suite. There are 2 types of settings: global settings, also known as user settings, and project settings. Global settings. These settings affect the entire Burp Suite installation and are applied every time you start the application. They provide a baseline configuration for your Burp Suite environment. Project settings. These settings are specific to the current project and apply only during the session. However, please note that Burp Suite Community Edition does not support saving projects, so any project-specific options will be lost when you close Burp. To access the settings, click on the Settings button in the top navigation bar. This will open a separate settings window. So if you click settings over here, like so, there we go. It's a separate window. To access settings, click on settings, blah, blah, blah. Below is the image showing the separate settings window, which we have open. In the settings window, you'll find a menu on the left-hand side. This menu allows you to switch between different types of settings, include 1, search, 2, type, filters, the settings, user, project options. You got user settings, project settings, and then categories. All right, so 1, 2, and 3. And it's worth noting that many tools within Burp Suite provide shortcuts to specific categories of settings. For example, the proxy module includes a proxy setting button that opens the settings window directly to the relevant proxy section. That's pretty neat. So you just click on one of these little tab areas and then just click on the settings. It'll take you right to it. Okay. The search feature on the settings page is a valuable addition, allowing you to quickly search for settings using keywords. Take some time to familiarize yourself with the range of configurable options in Burp Suite. Once you are comfortable, you can proceed with the exercises related to configuring Burp Suite settings. So be sure to read and understand these settings, how to access them, etc., etc. Question time. And in which category can you find a reference to a cookie jar? All right, so if we go through here, look through here, we'll find one that's reference a cookie jar. Maybe we can just type it in here. So let's do cookie jar. All right, cookie jar. Looks like it's going to be in sessions. There we go. And which base category can you find the updates subcategory, which controls the Burp Suite update behavior? Well, I wonder if we can just type it in here. Let's do updates. And so it's going to be in this suite. So suite, what is the name of the subcategory, which allows you to change the key bindings for shortcuts in Burp Suite? This is going to be hotkeys. All right, there's your shortcut stuff in here. And the next one says, if we have uploaded client-side TLS certificates, can we override on a per project basis? Well, it's going to be yes. If you go in here and you search for certificates, and there's TLS here, and you can see client TLS certificates. You can edit this inside of here. Override options for this project only, etc., other stuff down here. All right, let's continue on to task number 8. Introduction to the Burp Proxy. The Burp Proxy is a fundamental and crucial tool within Burp Suite. It enables the capture of requests and responses between the user and a target web server. This intercepted traffic can be manipulated, sent to other tools for further processing, or explicitly allowed to continue to its destination. Key points to understand about the Burp Proxy. Intercepting requests. When requests are made through the Burp Proxy, they are intercepted and held back from reaching the target server. The requests appear in the proxy tab, allowing for further actions such as forwarding, dropping, editing, or sending them to other Burp modules. To disable intercept and allow requests to pass through the proxy without interruption, we click the intercept is on. So it's on right now. You flip it, now it's off. All right, so you have it turned on, and then all the traffic and stuff that's routed to Burp, you'll be able to see it inside of here and control it and everything with forward drop, action, and other crap in there. All right, so let's go ahead and continue on. Taking control. The ability to intercept requests empowers testers to gain complete control over web traffic, making it invaluable for testing applications, capture, and logging. Burp Suite captures and logs requests made through the proxy by default, even when the interception is turned off. The logging functionality can be helpful for later analysis and review of prior requests. You got the WebSocket support, logs and history. Let's continue on here. Be sure to read through this all the way. Some notable features in the proxy settings. Response interception. By default, the proxy does not intercept server responses unless explicitly requested on a per request basis. The intercept responses based on the following rules checkbox along with the defined rules allows for a more flexible response interception. Match and replace. The match and replace section in the proxy settings enables the use of regular expressions, regex, to modify incoming and outgoing requests. The feature allows for dynamic changes such as modifying the user agent or manipulating cookies. Take the time to explore and experiment with proxy options, as this will enhance your understanding and proficiency within the tool. So get in here and play around with these settings. etc. Get familiar with it, and let's continue on. I've already started up this machine we're going to be targeting. Start the machine. I already did that. Use the perp. Configure our local web browser to redirect traffic through Burp Suite. And this task will be focusing on configuring the proxy using the proxy extension. Please note the instructions are specific for Firefox. If you're using a different browser, it may have alternate method, yada, yada, yada. So let's go ahead and configure this real quick inside of Firefox. All right, here's the extension up here, proxy. See it's disabled. Now you click on it, enable it. There we go. Now it's going to burp on port 8080. All right, create a new burp proxy configuration. Right, you can go to this options here. You click around these options, familiarize yourself with it. Right now, I only have one. If you want to configure another one, just go in here and click this add and fill out the appropriate criteria. All right, that's pretty much what it's explaining here. And since ours is already created, I don't have to do this, so but you can just double check it if you wish. See burp HTTP 127.0.0.1, port 8080, etc., etc. And let's continue on here. Once you're done with everything, you can click the save option down here to close out of it. And it's already enabled. So it wants us to test the proxy down here. Now, for flying through these instructions, be sure to pause the video and just go through it yourself. If you're using the attack box, it's already configured. But let's go ahead and exit out of this, and we'll just run into this website here. So now we should, actually, I need to go back here, and I need to turn on intercept. All right, there we go. So let's go ahead and take a look to see where we left off. Congratulations, you have successfully intercepted your first request. All right, so let's go ahead and reload the page. See how it's blinking red, and there's the actual intercept of that transmission, of that request. It says remember the following: when the proxy configuration is active and the intercept is switched on in Burp Suite, your browser will hang whenever you make a request. Be cautious not to leave the intercept switch on unintentionally, as it can prevent your browser from making any request. Right-clicking on a request in Burp Suite allows you to perform various actions such as forwarding, dropping, sending to other tools, or selecting options from the right-click menu. Take note of these details as you begin using the Burp Suite proxy. All right, so let's go ahead and continue on here. Task number 10, site map and issue definitions. The Target tab in Burp Suite provides more than just control over the scope of our testing. It consists of 3 subtabs. I'm not going to read through all these, so be sure to pause the video and read through all the way. Site map. The subtab allows us to map out the web applications we are targeting in a tree structure. Every page that we visit while the proxy is active will be displayed on the sitemap. This feature enables us to automatically generate a sitemap by simply browsing the web application. Issue definitions. Although Burp Suite Community does not include the full vulnerability scanning functionality available in Burp Suite Professional, we still have options to a list of all the vulnerabilities that scanner looks for. The issue definitions section provides an extensive list of web vulnerabilities, complete with descriptions and references and scope settings. This setting allows us to scope the target in Burp Suite. It enables us to include or exclude specific domains/IPs to define the scope of our testing. Overall, the Target tab offers features beyond scoping, allowing us to map out web applications, fine-tune our target scope, and access a comprehensive list of the web vulnerabilities for reference purposes. Challenge: take a look around on the site. We will be using this a lot throughout this module. Visit every other page that is linked on the homepage, then check your sitemap. One endpoint should stand out as being very unusual. Visit in your browser or use the response action or section of the sitemap entry for that endpoint. What's the flag you discover when visiting an unusual endpoint? So let's go ahead and play around with this and see what we can find. Now, as you navigate your way through the web page or the website, be sure to go to proxy and turn off intercept so you can uh, track everything you're going into. It's tracking the history of everything. Now, once you do that, you go through, play around with it. You'll notice that there's a ticket option inside of there. As you can see here, the refer is ticket, and I think I submitted a ticket or something, right? But anyway, as you're going through and you check your web history, you'll come across this odd looking URL. And as you go through and you select this URL, just copy URL, and then you just open up the URL inside of like Firefox or something, right? And you just navigate to it, and you get the flag. So there you go for that one, and we'll continue on to task number 11. All right, task number 11 is the Burp Suite browser, which I rarely use, but let's go ahead and take a look at it. If the previous task seemed overly complex, rest assured this topic will be a lot simpler. In addition to modifying our regular web browser to work with the proxy, Burp Suite also includes a built-in Chromium browser that is pre-configured to use the proxy without any of the modifications we just had to do. To start the Burp proxy or Burp browser, click the Open Browser button in the Proxy tab. So navigate to Proxy and then Open Browser. A Chromium window will pop up, and any request made in this browser will go through the proxy. Oh, okay. Allow burp without a sandbox. So let's go ahead and select that, and then that's it. So let's go ahead, let's try this again. Open browser. There we go. Note that there are many settings related to the Burp browser, any project options and other or end user options settings. Make sure to explore and customize them as needed. However, if you are running Burp Suite on Linux as the root user, as in this case with the attack box may encounter an error preventing the Burp browser from starting due to inability to create a sandbox environment, which we just encountered. There are two simple solutions to this. Smart option: create a new user and run Burp Suite under a low privileged account to allow the Burp browser to run without issues. Well, we're inside this attack box, so I'm not too concerned about that. But if you're in like a production environment or something, maybe that's something you should do. Easy option, which you've already done here, so I'm not going to go over that. And let's continue on to task number 12. All right, scoping and targeting. Finally, we come to one of the most important aspects of using the Burp proxy, scoping. Capturing and logging all of the traffic can quickly become overwhelming and inconvenient, especially when we only want to focus on a web application. This is where scoping comes in. By setting a scope for the project, we can define what gets proxied and logged in Burp Suite. We can restrict Burp Suite to target only the specific web pages we want to test. So I'm going to go ahead and exit out of this browser real quick. And if you go over to target, see how mine's all cleaned up now. I used to have a bunch of other junk in there I didn't want. All I did was right click on it and then add to scope, right? So you can remove from scope, you can add to scope, all that good stuff, right? So add to scope, and that's what I'm going to be looking at here. And this is taking you to the, I guess, the long way of doing it. But let's go ahead and continue on to learn how to do it this way. So if you go to this and you go to scope here, and for some reason I didn't want to extend all the way, you can go in, you can type in the applicable information in both of these boxes here, if it'll let me grab it. All right, so you go in here, you can go to add, type it in, there you go. You can paste the URL. Same thing at the bottom, add, edit, remove, load, etc. So be sure to go through this area here if you haven't done so already. I've already have this into my scope, so I'm not too concerned about it. And let's see here. To check our scope, we can switch to the Scope Settings sub-tab, which we've already done. The Scope Settings window allows us to control our target scope by including or excluding domain IPs. This section is powerful and worth spending time to getting familiar with, definitely. However, even if we disable logging, if we're out of scope traffic, the proxy will still intercept everything. To prevent this, we need to go to the Proxy Settings sub-tab and select, and URL is in target scope. All right, so we need to go down to the proxy settings. All right. All right, there we go. And let's see here. All right, so we have to select and URL is in scope. You know, look at these rules here, and like URL is in scope. Okay, there we go. You click OK. But let's go ahead and continue on. Intercept client request. So if you don't have these set in here, be sure to configure these. Enabling this option ensures the proxy completely ignores any traffic that is not within the defined scope. And it wants us to add this, so let's go ahead and copy and paste this over inside to only intercept traffic to in-scope items. To see the difference between the amount of traffic being caught by the proxy before and after limiting the scope. So let's go ahead and just edit the one I already had in here, match condition, type this in, hit OK. All right. Let me just take a look at this one real quick. Okay, there's nothing in there, but this one did save and it's enabled. So that should filter out a lot of the noise that you don't want to see. And let's just exit out of here. All right. So make sure to take a look at the before and after as I was talking about, and you can see the stark difference between the two. Now we're going to continue on to task number 13. We're going to be talking about proxy HTTPS. Sorry, note the attack box is already configured to solve the problem posed in the task. If you use the attack box and don't wish to read through the information here, you can skip this entire task. So if this is not, I'm using attack box, it's already done. So apparently, if you have not done this, be sure to read through it and complete it as instructed here. Basically, it just looks like you're adding certificates to the browser. This is what I'm getting from this. Yeah, trust the CA certificate. All right, so this is already done. Task number 14. That'll keep that. If you don't have the certificate in there from Burp, then every time you got to try to go to a site, you'll get some kind of like pop-up page that says you can't trust this certificate or something like that, I believe. But let's go on to task number 14, example attack. Having looked at how to set up and configure our proxy, let's go through a simplified real-world example. We will start by taking a look at the support form and tickets, which I did take a look at earlier. So let's just navigate back over to Firefox here. All right, so we're already in there, and they want us to take a look at the ticket area. So let's go ahead and get in there. In a real-world web app pen test, we would test this for a variety of things, one of which would be cross-site scripting or XSS. If you have not encountered XSS, it can be thought of as injecting a client-side script, usually in JavaScript, into a web page in such a way that it executes. There are various kinds of XSS. The type that we are using here is referred to as reflected XSS, as it only affects the person making the web request. Walkthrough. Try typing the following here, which is some kind of script. This is going to be that alert pop-up message, right? Into the contact email. So let's go ahead and copy and paste this over. And did it save in here? Okay. Which you should find the client-side filter prevents you from adding any special characters. Okay. Fortunately for us, client-side filters are absurdly easy to bypass. There are a variety of ways we could disable the script or just prevent it from loading in the first place. Let's focus on simply bypassing the filter for now. First, make sure that Burp proxy is active and that intercept is on. Well, let's go back over here into proxy and make sure this is turned on. There we go. Now let's jump back over to Firefox. Now enter some legitimate data into the form pentester, whatever. So I already had some stuff in here. So test, and this is a test. Test attack as a query, whatever. All right. First, make sure that your burp proxy is active. Intercept. All right. Sorry, I backread a little bit. Submit the form. The request should be intercepted by the proxy. So submit, and it's blinking, so we know it's been intercepted, and this is what it looks like here. With the request captured in the proxy, we can now change the email field to be our very simple payload, which is this. So copy that. After pasting in the payload, we need to select it, then URL encode it with Control U shortcut to make it safe to send. This process is shown in the GIF below. So let's take this out of here and type this in. So if we go ahead and highlight it, and then we can hit Control U, URL encoded. There we go. Successful SSX. All right. Now let's go ahead and continue on here because you have to press the forward button, etc., etc. All right. Conclusion. Task number 15. Congratulations on completing the Burp Basics room. You now have a solid understanding of the Burp Suite interface, configuration options, and the Burp proxy. These skills will be essential as you continue your journey in web and mobile application penetration testing. To further enhance your skills, I encourage you to practice an environment, experiment with the Burp, etc., etc. In the next room of the module, we'll dive deeper into Burp Suite Repeater, another powerful tool for manual testing and manipulation of web application requests. Stay curious and keep learning. All right, we can know the fundamentals, so click complete, and that'll wrap up the video. Thank you all for taking the time to watch my video. If you're new here, be sure to hit that subscribe button with the notification bell so you know every time I post. If you're liking the content, be sure to hit that like button. It's free, doesn't cost anything, helps out the channel, helps get the good word out there, and comment below on your thoughts and opinions. As always, see you later. Have a good day. Hey everybody, this is WireDogSec. Just a quick reminder to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell. Once you hit the notification bell, be sure to set to all notifications so you know every time I post to the channel, upload a video, all that good stuff. Let's continue to grow our glorious community here. We are in the cyber trenches. We're not just reporting on it. Be sure to check out my channel as well. I have tons of videos that you can see here, over 300 videos ready for you to check out and learn something from. Be sure to review my posts. I'm frequently posting new things to my channel here, including jobs and everything related to that. Also, I have tons of playlists here that you can review, make it more convenient for you. Anyway, happy defending, happy hacking, enjoy the video. Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. This is WireDogSec, back with another video for you guys. In today's video, we are going to continue on with TryHackMe, the Junior Penetration Tester learning path. This is the Burp Suite area, and this room is called Burp Suite Repeater. Learn how to use Repeater to duplicate requests in Burp Suite. Let's go ahead and dive into it. Task 1, Introduction. Welcome to the Burp Suite Repeater Room. In this room, we will explore the advanced capabilities of the Burp Suite framework by focusing on the Burp Suite Repeater module. Building upon the foundational knowledge covered in the Burp Basics room, we will delve into the powerful features of the Repeater tool. You will learn how to manipulate and resend captured requests, and we will explore the various options and functionalities available in this exceptional module. Throughout the room, we will provide practical examples, including a real-world exercise to solidify your understanding on the concepts discussed. All right, basically it says if you haven't done the Burp Suite Basics room, be sure to check that out before you continue on with this room here. And be sure to start the machine, which I've already done, and start the attack box, which I've already done. So let's go ahead and continue on to task number 2 here. And what is Repeater? Before using Burp Suite Repeater, let's familiarize ourselves with its purpose and functionality. In essence, Burp Suite Repeater enables us to modify and resend intercepted requests to a target of our choosing. It allows us to take requests captured in Burp Proxy and manipulate them, sending them repeatedly as needed. Alternatively, we can manually create requests from scratch, similar to using a command line tool like curl. The ability to edit and resend requests multiple times makes Repeater invaluable for manual exploration and testing of endpoints. It provides a user-friendly graphical interface for crafting request payloads and offers various views of the response, including a rendering engine for a graphical representation. The Repeater interface consists of 6 main sections as depicted in the annotated diagram below. All right, so let's take a look here. And one says request list located top left of the tab. It displays the list of repeater requests. So let's say you captured something in here. You can just right click here and then send to repeater. See repeaters lighten up like that. Flip over to repeater and now you got your request ready to go. All right, so that's the request list is number 1 right up here. And then 2 is request controls positioned directly beneath the request list. These controls allows us to send a request, canceling a hanging request, and navigate through the request history. That's going to be this here. And request and response view, occupying the majority of the interface. This section displays the request and response views. We can edit the request in the request view and then forward it with the corresponding response, what will be shown in the response view. All right, which these two are request and response. All right, so if you hit send, you'll see the response. And 4 is the layout options. Located top right of the request response view, these options enable us to customize the layout of the request and response views. So you go ahead, you can play around with it, see which one you like the most, etc. I'm going to keep it as the default for now. And 5 is the inspector. All right, so the inspector is going to be up here, right here where it says inspector. Positioned at the top right side, the inspector allows us to analyze and modify requests in a more intuitive manner than using the raw editor. And then number 6 is the target, all right, which is here. It says target, and then it has the name of the target. And it says situated above the inspector, the target field specifies the IP address or domain to which the requests are sent. When requests are sent to Repeater from other Burp Suite components, this field is automatically populated. So, which section gives us a more intuitive control over our requests? And we just read over that. So that's going to be the inspector here. So there we go. And then task number 3 here, we're going to be talking about basic usage. We know what the application's interface looks like at this point, but how can we effectively utilize it? While manual request crafting is an option, it is more common to capture a request using the proxy module and subsequently transmit it to Repeater for further editing and resending, which I already shown that. Once a request has been captured in the proxy module, we can send it to Repeater by either right-clicking on the request, sending to Repeater, or by utilizing the shortcut Control+R. Shifting our focus back to Repeater, we can observe that our captured request is now accessible in the request view. So let's just go back here and let me close out of this. Okay, got rid of that. Now go back to this proxy here, and I'm just going to forward the request through all this stuff. All right, now if I go back here and just hit refresh, it should have captured this. Right, okay. So you can do right click and then go to send to Repeater. You can do the Control+R shortcut, but now there's our target site here, see? Okay, now let's continue on. And it's talking about the request view, which we have our stuff here. Both the target and inspector sections now display relevant information, albeit we are currently lacking a response, and we've already done that. Click the send button to get the response. Should we wish to modify any aspect of the request, we can simply type within the request view and hit send. Once again, this action will update the response view on the right accordingly. For instance, altering the connection header to open instead of close yields a response with a connection header containing the value keep alive. So to talk about this here, if you go back here and you type in open, all right, and see how it doesn't say keep alive, it says close on the connection. So hit send, and now it says keep alive. Furthermore, we can utilize the history button situated to the right of the send button to navigate through our modification history, allowing us to move forward and backwards as needed. Which view will populate when sending a request to the proxy module to Repeater? Now that is going to be the should be request, because you're sending it from the proxy, right clicking or using the control R and sending it to repeater. So that's going to show up in the repeater request area. So let's continue on to task number 4. And we're going to talk about message analysis toolbar. Repeater provides us with various request and response presentation options ranging from hexadecimal output to a fully rendered page. To explore these options, we can refer to the section located above the response box where the following 4 view buttons are available. And if we go back in there, you can see that here. See, yeah, the screen's too small, but if you hit this down arrow, you can see the rest here. So let's continue on. We are presented with the following display choices. Pretty, this is the default option, which takes the raw response and applies slight formatting enhancements to improve readability. Raw, this option displays displays the unmodified response directly received from the server without any additional formatting. Hex, by selecting this view, we can examine the response in a byte level representation, which is particularly useful when dealing with binary files. Render, the render option allows us to visualize the page as it would appear in a web browser. While not commonly utilized in Repeater, as our focus is usually on the source code, it still offers a valuable feature. For most scenarios, the pretty option is generally sufficient. However, it is beneficial to be acquainted with the usage of the other 3 options. So be sure to play around with it, play around with it, and see how you want things to look at in here. I mean, I usually just keep mine on the pretty option. Now let's continue. Adjacent to the view buttons on the right-hand side, we find the Show Non-Printable Characters button, which is the \n. This functionality enables the display of characters that may not be visible with the pretty or raw options. For example, each line in the response typically ends with characters \r\n representing a carriage return followed by a new line. These characters play an important role in the interpretation of HTTP headers. While not mandatory for most tasks, this option can prove advantageous in certain situations. All right, so let's go ahead and this is what they're talking about here. So show non-printable characters and such. So you click that, now you can see additional information there. All right, which option allows us to visualize the page as it will appear in the web browser? And that is going to be the render. And task number 5, we're going to be talking about Inspector. Inspector is a supplementary feature to the request and response views in the repeater module. It is also used to obtain a visually organized breakdown of requests and responses, as well as for experimenting to see how changes made using the higher level inspector affect the equivalent raw versions. Inspector can be utilized both in the proxy and repeater module. In both instances, it is situated on the far right side of the window, presenting a list of components within the request and response. And this is what it looks like here. Okay, and we have it over here already pulled up. You got requests, attributes, request query parameters, etc., etc. Among these components, the sections pertaining to the request can typically be modified, enabling the addition, editing, and removal of items. For instance, in the request attribute section, we can alter elements related to location, method, and protocol of the request. This includes modifying the desired resource to retrieve, changing the HTTP method from GET to another variant, or switching the protocol from HTTP1 to HTTP2. And this is what they're talking about here. So you go back, you just play around with it, switch it, GET. You can change it, type it in there. You can also do this, I believe. You can, if you right click in here, and I believe you can change it this way. Change request method. So and you can change it to something else. All right, let's continue on here. Other sections available for viewing and or editing include getting a response, or sorry, request query parameters. These refer to data sent to the server via the URL. For example, in a GET request like the following, the query parameter redirect has a value of false. 2. Request body parameters similar to query parameters but specific to post request. And be sure to read through all these all the way. I'm just going to skim over them. Request cookies. This section contains a modifiable list of cookies sent with each request. For request headers, it enables us to view, access, and modify, including adding or removing any headers sent with our request. 5. Response headers. This section displays the headers returned by the server in response to a request. It cannot be modified as we have no control over the headers returned by the server. All right, while the textual representation of these components can be found within the request and response views, Inspector's tabular format provides a convenient way to visualize and interact with them. Experimenting with the headers, additions, removals, and edits in Inspector helps grasp how the corresponding raw version changes in response. Which section in Inspector is specific to post requests? And that's going to be the looks like the body parameters, right? So let's go ahead and copy and paste this over. Task number 6, practical example. Repeater is particularly well suited for tasks requiring repetitive sending of similar requests, typically with minor modifications. This is particularly useful for activities such as manual testing for SQL injection vulnerabilities to be covered in a forthcoming task. Attempting to bypass web application firewall filters or adjusting parameters in a form submission. Let's begin with an exceedingly simple example. Using repeater to modify the headers of a request sent to the target, capture a request from here, which we've already done, and proxy module and send it to repeater. Send the request once from repeater. You should see the HTML code for the page you requested in the responsive view. Try viewing this and one of the other display views, e.g. hex, using inspector or manually. If you prefer, add a header called flag authorized and set it to have a value of true as shown below. So let's go ahead and close out of this, and we'll send another request over to repeater. All right, and it wants us to add this flag here, so I'm going to copy it out of here, and let's add it to the bottom as shown in that screenshot. So there we go, flag authorized, and then set that to true. All right, what is the flag you receive? So let's go ahead and send it, and there's the flag. See how you can edit all kinds of responses or requests and get different responses back depending on what you put in there. Number 7 is the challenge. In the previous task, we demonstrated the usage of repeater by adding a header and sending a request. This served as an illustrative example for utilizing repeater. Now it's time for a straightforward challenge. To begin, make sure intercept is disabled in your proxy module and navigate to this products page here. So I'm going to copy this and let's follow along. So I'm going to go back here, turn intercepts off, navigate to the product section like so. Next, try clicking on some of the see more links. Observe that you are redirected to a numeric endpoint. All right, so it says see more links. So let's go ahead and click on a few of them. Redirected. Yep, products 1, 2, 3, whatever. Okay. The objective is to validate the endpoint, confirming the existence of the number you wish to navigate to, and ensuring it is a valid integer. However, consider what might occur if this endpoint is not adequately validated. Answer some questions. Enable intercept again and capture request to one of the numeric product endpoints in the proxy module, then forward it to repeater. So let's go back over to burp and turn intercept on like so, and I'm just going to refresh the page. All right, now we have this. Now send this over to repeater like so. Flip over to repeater. Now ready to go. See if you can get the server to error out with a 500 internal server error code by changing the number at the end of the request to extreme inputs. What is the flag you received when you cause a 500 error in the endpoint? Hey everybody, just a quick little blurb here. As you can see here, most people that view my channel are not subscribers. If you're new here, please consider subscribing to the channel. If you're enjoying the video, please consider hitting the like button. It helps get me in the algorithm, helps spread the good word out there, helps bring more people and increase our glorious community here. All right, I'm all about helping out others. I know what it's like to come up in cybersecurity or even try to get into cybersecurity and not knowing where to look. I'm just having this channel up so I can help out other people. All right, that's all I got. This is what it should look like. As you can see here, I have replaced that number 2 with a negative 100. I hit send, and now I have this 500 internal server error. And let's take a look. You're supposed to see there's a flag in here somewhere. So let's browse through here and try to locate the flag, and there we go. So I'm going to go ahead and grab it, plug it in here. That's one thing we'll be testing in here as well, input validation. As you can see, it gave some status error code here as I put in a negative number. Now let's continue on to task number 8. Extra Mile Challenge. This task is designed to test your skills in a slightly more challenging real-world scenario utilizing Burp Repeater. If you possess the expertise to independently perform a manual SQL injection, you can skip ahead to the final question and attempt this as a blind challenge. However, a detailed walkthrough will be provided below if you require guidance. Prerequisite knowledge. Before starting on this challenge, it is recommended that you familiarize yourself with the principles of SQL injection. If you haven't already, please consider exploring the SQL injection room dedicated to this topic, or you can check out my video over that. Although a comprehensive step-by-step guide will be provided, having a basic understanding of SQL injection principles will prove beneficial in completing this task. Challenge objective. Your objective in this challenge is to identify and exploit a union SQL injection vulnerability present in the ID parameter of the /about/ID endpoint. By leveraging this vulnerability, your task is to launch an attack to retrieve the notes about the CEO stored on the database walkthrough. We know that there is a vulnerability, and we know where it is. Now we just need to exploit it. Let's start by capturing requests to the following. So I'm going to go ahead and copy this out, paste it in. All right, now we have it captured, and I'm going to right click and send it to repeater. Now we're ready to go. Now that we have our request primed, let's confirm that a vulnerability exists. Adding a single apostrophe is usually enough to cause the server to error when a simple SQLi is present. So either using Spectre or by editing the request path manually, add a apostrophe after the 2 at the end of the path and send the request. So let's go ahead and do that. They call it apostrophe. I just called it a single quote, but let's go ahead and send it. Now we have this 500 server internal server error message here. You should see that response internal server error indicating successfully broke the query. If we look through the body of the server response, we see something interesting. At around line 40, the server is telling us the query we tried to execute. So let's go ahead and scroll down here, sit around line 40. So it's going to be way towards the bottom, it looks like. And there we go. And you can move this over a little bit too. Let me try to move some of this over so we can have a little bit more space here. And it won't let me move that side. Okay, whatever. Let me just go back up so we can see it. And there we go. This is an extremely useful error message that the server should absolutely not be sending us, but the fact we have it makes our job significantly more straightforward. The message tells us a couple of things that will be invaluable when exploiting this vulnerability. The database table we are selecting from is called people. The query selects 5 columns from the table: first name, last name, PFP link, role, and bio. We can guess where these fit into the page, which will be helpful for when we choose where to place our requests. With this information, we can skip over the query, column number, and table name enumeration steps. Although we have managed to cut out a lot of enumeration required here, we still need to find the name of our target column. As we know the table name and the number of rows, we can use a union query to select the column names for the people table from the columns table in the information underscore schema default database. A simple query for this is as follows. All right, so let's go ahead and just copy and paste this out of here. And I'm pretty sure they're going to want us to put this in here. So let me delete, add another space in there. There we go, and paste. This creates a union query and selects our target, and then 4 null columns to avoid the query airing out. Notice that we also changed the ID that we are selecting from to 0 by setting the ID to an invalid number. We ensure that we don't retrieve anything with the original legitimate query. This means that the first row returned from the database will be our desired response from the injected query. Looking through the returned response, we can see that the first column name ID has been inserted into the page title. Looks like I was able to resolve the issue. Now all I did was go back into the main website here and I plugged in that SQL query they wanted us to do, and I just captured it via the proxy, and then I sent it back over to repeater. Now it says 200. So now let's go ahead and continue on. ID has been inserted into the page, as we saw right there, ID none. We have successfully pulled the first column name out of the database, but now have a problem. The page is only displaying the first matching item. We need to see all the matching items. Fortunately, we can use our SQLi to group the results. We can still only retrieve one result at a time by using the group underscore concat open close parentheses function. We can amalgamate all of the column names into a single output. So if we add that in here, I'm just going to copy and paste all this again like so, and I'm going to see if I can just edit it this way and if it'll work. All right, so let's go ahead and clear all this out. Like so, and then put that space back in there. See if it'll work. Ah, there we go. Awesome. Now we can see ID, first name, last name, all the other stuff in there. Yep, and that's what they're explaining here. We have successfully identified 8 columns in this table, which are the following: ID, first name, last name, PFP link, role, short role, bio, and notes. Consider our task. It seems a safe bet that our target column is notes. Finally, we are ready to take the flag from this database. We have all of the information that we need. Name of the table is people. Name of the target column is going to be notes. The ID of the CEO is 1. This can be found simply by clicking on Jameson Wolf's profile on the About page and checking the ID in the URL. Let's craft a query to extract this flag, and this is what it looks like. So let's go ahead and copy this over, and we're going to paste it in there like so. So delete all this stuff out of here, replace this information with this, and then hit send, and there's the flag. Exploit the Union SQL injection vulnerability in the site and get the flag, and we have that here. So let's go ahead and grab that and plug it in, and that's pretty much it. See how that works, folks? We saw it in live action here, and hopefully you followed along and got the practical hands-on aspect of it. Task number 9, conclusion. Congrats on completing the Burp Suite repeater room. By now, you should have a solid understanding of effectively utilizing repeater to edit, manipulate, and rescind request. Additionally, you should have gained insight into the numerous practical applications of this tool. In the next room of the module, we will explore Burp Suite Intruder module. Intruder allows for automated and customizable attacks, making it a powerful tool for testing security testing or for various security testing scenarios. Good luck with the next room and enjoy exploring the capabilities of Burp Suite and Intruder. Now, Intruder, I've mainly used this for like brute forcing login portals and such. But we're going to get into that in the next video. And that wraps up this video. So if you're new here, please consider hitting that subscribe button with the notification bell so you know every time I post. If you're enjoying the content, hit the like button. Helps out the channel, helps add more people to this channel so we can grow our community. And hit the comment section below on your thoughts and opinions on the information shared in the video. As always, thank you all for watching. Have a nice day, and I will see you later. Hey everybody, this is WireDogSec. Just a quick reminder to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell. Once you hit the notification bell, be sure to set to all notifications so you know every time I post to the channel, upload a video, all that good stuff. Let's continue to grow our glorious community here. We are in the cyber trenches. We're not just reporting on it. Be sure to check out my channel as well. I have tons of videos that you can see here, over 300 videos ready for you to check out and learn something from. Be sure to review my posts. I'm frequently posting new things to my channel here, including jobs and everything related to that. Also, I have tons of playlists here that you can review, make it more convenient for you. Anyway, happy defending, Happy hacking. Enjoy the video. Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. This is WireDogSec, and I'm back with another video for you guys. We are going to continue on with the Junior Penetration Tester Learning Path in TryHackMe. This is the Burp Suite area, and we are covering the Burp Suite Intruder room. Learn how to use Intruder to automate requests in Burp Suite. Now, let's go ahead and jump into it. Task 1, Introduction. Welcome to the Burp Suite Intruder room. In this room, we will explore Burp Suite's Intruder module, which offers automated request manipulation and enables tasks such as fuzzing and brute forcing. If you are not familiar with Burp Suite's proxy and repeater functionality, it is recommended to complete at least the Burp Basics room before proceeding, or you can just watch my videos and catch up on everything. Burp Suite's Intruder module is a powerful tool that allows for automated and customizable attacks. It provides the ability to modify specific parts of a request and perform repetitive tests with variations of input data. Intruder is particularly useful for tasks like fuzzing and brute forcing, where different values need to be tested against a target. Deploy the machine, which is already done. Start the attack box, we've already done. So I'm going to go ahead and click complete here, and we're going to go to task number 2. What is Intruder? Intruder is Burp Suite's built-in fuzzing tool that allows for automated request modification and repetitive testing and variations in input values. By using a captured request, often from the proxy module, Intruder can send multiple requests with slightly altered values based on user-defined configurations. It serves various purposes, such as reinforcing logins forms by substituting username and password fields with values from a word list, or performing fuzzing attacks using word lists to test subdirectories, endpoints, or virtual hosts. Intruder's functionality is comparable to command line tools like wfuzz or ffuff. However, it is important to note that while Intruder can be used with Burp's Community Edition, it is rate limited, significantly reducing its speed compared to Burp Professional. This limitation often leads security practitioners to rely on other tools for fuzzing and brute forcing. Nonetheless, Intruder remains a valuable tool and is worth learning how to use it effectively. And that's correct. It'll start off very quickly for like the first like 30 seconds or something, and then it will get just straight up throttled. Let's explore the Intruder interface. All right, so we're just gonna go ahead and flip over to Intruder. Actually, let's go ahead and just capture a request real quick. Make sure this is turned on and flipped over to Burp. So I'm gonna hit refresh here to capture this, and then you can right click and you can go to send to Intruder. You can use the Control plus I option or shortcut there. So let me X out of this and we'll click over to Intruder. There we go. All right, so already in Intruder here, so there are 4 subtabs within Intruder. Positions, this tab allows you to select an attack type, which we will cover in a future task, and configure where we want to insert our payloads and request template. All right, so I'm just going to skim over these. Be sure to pause the video and read them thoroughly, or just go to the room. Payloads. Here we can select values to insert into positions defined in the Positions tab. We have various payload options, such as loading items from a word list. The way these payloads are inserted into the template depends on the attack chosen in the Positions tab and the Resource Pool. This tab is not particularly useful in the Burp Community Edition. It allows for resource allocation among various automated tasks in the Burp Professional settings. This tab allows us to configure attack behavior. It primarily deals with how Burp handles results in attack itself. For instance, we can flag requests containing a specific text or define Burp's response to redirect 3xx responses. Note, the term fuzzing refers to the process of testing functionality or existence by applying a set of data to a parameter. For example, fuzzing for endpoints in a web application involves taking each word in a word list and appending it to a request URL. And here's an example of what it looks like here. Word goes here. To observe the server's response. All right, question time. In which Intruder tab can we find the attack type for our planned attack? It looks like positions is what we're looking for here. As it says up here, this tab allows us to select an attack type. And if we look at the actual Intruder in the positions tab, we can see that here, choose an attack type. So there you go. And then you can mess around and navigate your way through here. Payloads, check out some of the payload stuff in here. Just a brief look at it. Resource pool, and then settings. All kinds of stuff you can do in here. Let's go ahead and continue to task number 3. We're going to talk about positions. And when using Burp Suite Intruder to perform an attack, the first step is to examine the positions within the request where we want to insert our payloads. These positions inform Intruder about the locations where our payloads will be introduced, as we will explore in upcoming tasks. Let's navigate to the Positions tab. So let's go ahead and do that. So we're in Intruder, and we're going to go to the Positions tab. Notice that Burp Suite automatically attempts to identify the most probable positions where payloads can be inserted. These positions are highlighted in green and enclosed by section marks, which are these weird-looking symbols here. On the right-hand side of the interface, we will find the following buttons: Add and Clear, Auto. The Add button allows us to define new positions manually by highlighting them within the requester or request editor and then clicking the bottom. This is probably the most frequent one that you will use inside of here. Adding them manually. The Clear clears them out. Auto automatically attempts to identify the most likely positions based on the request. This feature is helpful if we previously cleared the default positions and want them back. Alright, so let's go ahead and just flip over here real quick, and we'll just disable this. Alright, now there should be some kind of login form in here. Let's see here. Maybe we'll probably get to it later on. I was trying to see if I could show you guys what that actually looks like, setting those particular um, positions inside of here. But we'll probably just get to it. Let's just go ahead and continue here. And here's the GIF that shows what the process looks like. All right, auto. They click on auto here, and then it identified some possible positions for username and password combinations. Take some time to familiarize yourself with adding, clearing, and auto-selecting positions using the Burp Intruder interface. What symbol defines the start and end of a payload position? And that's going to be this weird-looking one here. So I'm just going to copy and paste. There we go. All right, so let's go ahead and continue on to task number 4 here. And we're going to talk about payloads. In the Payloads tab of Burp Suite Intruder, we can create, assign, and configure payloads for our attack. This subtab is divided into 4 sections. So let's hop back over to Burp to check it out. All right, and then let's go to the Payloads tab, and here we are. So let's take a look at each section here. 1. Payload sets. This section allows us to choose the position for which we want to configure a payload set and select the type of payload we want to use when using attack types that allow only a single payload set, sniper or battering ram. The payload set dropdown will have only one option regardless of the number of defined positions. If we use attack types that require multiple payloads, sets pitchfork or cluster bomb, there will be one more item in the dropdown for each position. And you guys can see the rest here. I'm just going to skim over a lot of this information. So you got payload sets, and then it's going to talk about payload settings. This section provides options specific to selected payload type for the current payload set. For example, when using the simple list payload type, we can manually add or remove payloads to from the set by using the add text box, paste lines, or load payloads from a file. The remove button removes the current selected line, and the clear button clears the entire list. Be cautious with loading huge lists, as it may cause Burp to crash. And number 3 is payload processing. In this section, we can define rules to be applied to each payload in the set before it is sent to the target. For example, we can capitalize every word, skip payloads that match a regex pattern, or apply other transformations or filtering. 4 is going to be the payload encoding down there. The section allows us to customize the encoding options for our payloads. By default, Burp Suite applies URL encoding to ensure the safe transmission of payloads. However, there may be cases where we want to adjust the encoding behavior. All right, by leveraging these sections, we can create and customize payload sets to suit the specific requirements for our attacks. This level of control allows us to finely tune our payloads for effective testing and exploitation. Which payload processing rule could we use to add characters at the end of each payload in the set? All right, so let's go ahead and take a look here and try to figure out what this could be. Select the rule type, and that should be a add suffix. You want to add it to the end, right? So let's go ahead and type that in. Add suffix. There we go. All right, task number 5. We're going to talk about introduction to attack types. The Positions tab of Burp Suite Intruder has a drop-down menu for selecting the attack type. So let's just flip back over to the Positions and the 4 attack types. So let's go ahead and explore them briefly. Number 1 is going to be Sniper. The Sniper attack type is the default and most commonly used option. It cycles through the payloads, inserting one payload at a time into each position defined in the request. Battering ram. The battering ram attack type differs from Sniper in that it sends all payloads simultaneously, each payload inserted into its respective position. Pitchfork. The pitchfork attack type enables the simultaneous testing of multiple positions with different payloads. It allows the tester to define multiple payload sets, each associated with a specific position in the request. Cluster bomb. The cluster bomb attack type combines the sniper and pitchfork approaches. It performs a sniper-like attack on each position, but simultaneously tests all payloads from each set. All right, each attack type has its advantages and is suitable for different testing scenarios. Understanding their differences helps us select the appropriate attack type based on the testing objectives. What attack type cycles through payloads, inserting one payload at a time? Well, that was Sniper. That's the very first one. So Sniper. And then let's continue on to task number 6, where we're going to talk about Sniper. The Sniper attack type is the default and most commonly used attack type in Burp Suite Intruder. It is particularly effective for single position attacks, such as password brute force or fuzzing the API endpoints. In a sniper attack, we provide a set of payloads, which can be a word list or a range of numbers, and Intruder inserts each payload into each defined position in the request. Let's refer to our example template from before. All right, and you got the positions down here that you want to target. In this example, we have two positions defined, username and password body parameters. In a sniper attack, Intruder takes each payload from the payload set and substitutes it into each defined position in turn. Assuming we have a word list with the words burp, suite, and Intruder would generate 6 requests. And this is what they look like here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Then you got the request body, username equals burp, password equals exploited. And you got suit, and then same password, and then just rotates through them. Observe how Intruder starts with the first position, username, and substitutes each payload into it, then moves to the second position, password, and performs the same substitution with the payloads. The total number of requests made by Intruder Sniper can be calculated as requests equals number of words times number of positions. The sniper attack type is beneficial when you want to perform tests with a single position attacks, utilizing different payloads for each position. It allows for precise testing and analysis of different payload variations. If you were using Sniper to fuzz 3 parameters in a request with a word list containing 100 words, how many requests would Burp Suite need to send to complete the attack? All right, so 100 words, and you have 3 parameters there. So that would be 300 according to their formula at the top. How many sets of payloads will Sniper accept for conducting an attack? And it was 1 payload each. So let's go ahead and continue on to task number 7. And we're going to talk about battering ram. The battering ram attack type in Burp Suite Intruder differs from Sniper in that it places the same payload in every position simultaneously rather than submitting each payload into each position in turn. Let's refer back to our previous example template. All right, you got the username and password that you're going to be targeting here with the positions. Using the battering ram attack type with the same word list as before, Burp, Suite, and Intruder, it would look like the following here, and this is what it looks like here. Username burp, password burp, suite, intruder. As shown in the table, each payload from the word list is inserted into every position for each request made. In a battering ram attack, the same payload is thrown at every defined position simultaneously, providing a brute force attack. Approach to testing. The battering ram attack type is useful when we want to test the same payload against multiple positions at once without the need for sequential substitution. In the upcoming task, we will explore further configurations and settings related to Intruder's battering ram attack type and examine its applications in different scenarios. As a hypothetical question, you need to perform a battering ram intruder attack on the example request above. If you have a word list, 2 words in it, admin and guest, and the positions and the request template look like the following. Okay. What would the body parameters of the first request that Burp sends? Hey everybody, just a quick little blurb here. As you can see here, most people that view my channel are not subscribers. If you're new here, please consider subscribing to the channel. If you're enjoying the video, please consider hitting the like button. It helps get me in the algorithm, helps spread the good word out there, helps bring more people and increase our glorious community here. All right, I'm all about helping out others. I know what it's like to come up in cybersecurity or even try to get into cybersecurity and not knowing where to look. I'm just having this channel up so I can help out other people. All right, that's all I got. The first request is going to look like this, admin, right? As explained up above, it's going to go through and look like this, right? Burp Suite Intruder, it says burp, burp, sweet, etc., etc. So let's go ahead and continue on to task number 8. We're going to talk about Pitchfork. The Pitchfork attack type in Burp Suite Intruder is similar to having multiple sniper attacks running simultaneously. While Sniper uses one payload set to test all positions simultaneously, Pitchfork utilizes one payload set per position up to a maximum of 20 and iterates through them all simultaneously. To better understand Pitchfork, let's us revisit our brute force example, but this time with 2 word lists. First one, the first word list contains usernames Joel, Harriet, and Alex. The second one contains passwords Joel, Emma, and Skill. We can use these two lists to perform a pitchfork attack on the login form. Each request made during the attack will look like this. So you got the first one here. It's going to be Joel. It's the first user, and then that password of Joel, and then get Harriet, and then it's going to try that password of Emma, and then Alex is going to try the password of Skill. As shown in the table, Pitchfork takes the first item from each list and substitutes them in the request, one per position. It then repeats this process for the next request by taking the second item from each list and substituting it into the template. Intruder continues this iteration until one or all of the lists run out of items. It's important to note that Intruder stops testing as soon as one of the lists is complete. Therefore, in pitchfork attacks, it is ideal for the payload sets to have the same length. If the lengths of the payload sets differ, Intruder will only make requests until the shorter list is exhausted and the remaining items and the longer list will not be tested. The pitchfork attack type is especially useful when conducting credential stuffing attacks or when multiple positions require separate payload sets. It allows for simultaneous testing for multiple positions with different payloads. In the upcoming tasks, we will explore further configurations and settings related to Intruder's pitchfork attack type and explore its applications in different scenarios, including credential stuffing attacks. What is the maximum number of payload sets we can load into pitchfork mode? Well, it's set up above. It was 20. That's what it maxes out at right there, maximum 20. So let's go ahead and continue on to task number 9. We're going to talk about the cluster bomb attack type. And Burp Suite Intruder allows us to choose multiple payload sets, one per position up to a maximum of 20. Unlike Pitchfork, where all payload sets are tested simultaneously, Cluster Bomb iterates through each payload set individually, ensuring that every possible combination of payload is tested. To illustrate the cluster bomb attack type, let's use the same word list as before. You got Joel, Harriet, Alex, Joel, Emma, and Skill. All right, in this example, let's assume that we don't know which password belongs to which user. We have 3 users and 3 passwords, but the mappings are unknown. In this case, we can use a cluster bomb attack to try every combination of values. This request table for our username and password positions will look like the following. Get username Joel, password Joel, and Harriet, Joel, etc. See how it's cycling through each and every one of those now. And let's continue on. As shown in the table, the cluster bomb attack type iterates through every combination of the provided payload sets. It tests every possibility by substituting each value from each payload set into the corresponding position in the request. Cluster bomb attacks can generate a significant amount of traffic as it tests every combination. The number of requests made by a cluster bomb attack can be calculated by multiplying the number of lines in each payload set together. It's important to be cautious when using this attack type, especially when dealing with large payload sets. Additionally, when using Burp Community and its intruder rate limiting, the execution of cluster bomb attack with a moderately sized payload set can take a significantly longer time. The cluster bomb attack type is particularly useful for credential brute forcing scenarios where the mapping between username and password is unknown. In the upcoming task, we will explore further configurations and settings related to Intruder's cluster bomb attack type and examine its applications in different scenarios. We have three payload sets. The first set contains 100 lines, the second contains 2 lines, and the third contains 30 lines. How many requests will Intruder make using the payload sets in a cluster bomb attack? This should be 6,000 requests, right? You have to multiply all these together. 100 times 2, and then multiply that times 30, and you should get 6,000. So submit that, and let's continue on to task number 10 here. And we're going to get to practical examples. So I'm just go ahead and copy and paste this out of here. To put our theoretical knowledge into practice, we will attempt to gain access to the support portal located at the following URL. This portal follows a typical login structure, and upon inspecting its source code, we find that no protective measures have been implemented. And if you take a look at the source code here to see that information, given the absence of protective measures, we have multiple options to exploit this form, including a cluster bomb attack for brute forcing the credentials. However, we have an easier approach at our disposal. Approximately 3 months ago, Bastion Hosting fell victim to a cyber attack, compromising employee usernames, email addresses, and plain text passwords. Isn't that lovely? While the affected employees were instructed to change their passwords promptly, there is a possibility that some disregarded this advice. As we possess a list of known usernames, each accompanied by a corresponding password, we can leverage a credential stuffing attack. Instead of a straightforward brute force, this method provides advantageous and significantly quicker, especially when utilizing the rate-limited version of Intruder. To access the leaked credentials, download the file from the target machine using the following command in the attack box. All right, so first off, let's go ahead and capture this request, have it ready to go like so. Oh, I need to turn this back on. All right, now hit refresh. All right, so it seems to be working. And let's just forward this on like so, and then we'll just type in test to capture the criteria so we can get the actual positions. And there we go. That's exactly what we needed. And just gonna send this over to repeater, get it ready to go. Now let's go ahead and download this list here using the wget command. So go inside the terminal and paste this in. wget. Looks like it was saved. You can check it using ls. And you can see the file inside of here. Right there, zip. Tutorial to solve this example. Follow the steps to conduct a credential stuffing attack with the burp macros. Download and prepare the word list, which we already have prepared. And looks like we are in the home directory, right? Yeah, of root. So we can just navigate to it, or you can just unzip it via command line. But I'm just going to go do it this way here. So navigate. Let's just open up a browser here. Let's see. I don't want to do that. I want to go to, let's see. Where is this? Oh, places maybe. There we go. Home folder. There we go. Unzipped. All right. Now we have the zip file unzipped, and these are a list we're going to be using. All right, we're navigated to the support login, and we need to send this to Intruder, not Repeater. So send this to Intruder. I got my brain somewhere else today. Now we can go in and mark these as so. So add, and then highlight and add. All right. Now they want us to use the pitchfork attack. So let's go ahead and select pitchfork here. Move the payloads subtab. You will find two payload sets. So let's go ahead to payloads. All right. And you want us to use the username. So we can go to load and then navigate to the actual directory where they're stored. And since this is usernames, this is username.txt, and then flip this to number 2 here, and do the same thing here with the passwords, like so. It says click the start attack button. Let's go and do that. Yes, we know that's going to get throttled or rate limited. And let's continue on here. So once the attack starts, a new window will display the results of the request. However, as Burp sent 100 requests, we need to identify which ones were successful. Since the response status code are not differentiating successful and unsuccessful attempts, all are 302 redirects, we need to use the response length to distinguish them. Click on the header for or the header, the length column to sort the results by byte length. Look for the results or the request with the sorted length indicating a successful login attempt. 10. To confirm the successful login attempt, use the credentials from the request with the shorter response length to log in, and then type in the correct username and password combination. All right, so I will come back here as soon as it looks like it already found something. Looks like it might be this one here. Yeah, so let's just try this then. We can just straight up copy it out of here, probably. So let's go ahead and try that. This, and place this with a dot, and then a colon, and then the password is going to be let me in one. Okay, what happened here? Oh, that's where I messed up. There we go. Now let's continue to task number 11 here. Another practical challenge. Having gained access to the support system, we now have the opportunity to explore its functionalities and see what actions we can perform. Upon accessing the home interface, we are presented with a table displaying various tickets. Click on any of the rows redirects us to a page where we can view the complete ticket. By examining the URL structure, we observe that these pages are numbered in the following format. So it looks like ticket forward slash then the number. The numbering system indicates that the tickets are assigned integer identifiers rather than complex and hard to guess IDs. This information is significant because it suggests two possible scenarios. Number one, access control. The endpoint may be properly configured to restrict access only to tickets assigned to our current user. In this case, we can only view tickets associated with their account. IDOR vulnerability. Alternatively, the endpoint may lack appropriate access controls, leading to a vulnerability known as insecure direct object reference IDOR. If this is the case, we could potentially exploit the system and read all existing tickets, regardless of the assigned user. To investigate further, we will utilize the Intruder tool to fuzz uh, this particular directory. Right, this is our endpoint. We're going to be targeting that number. This approach will help us determine whether the endpoint has been correctly configured or if an IDOR vulnerability exists or is present. Let's proceed with the fuzzing process. You have to capture the request while being logged in. Which attack type is best suited for this task? Well, since we're just targeting this, it should be the sniper. Configure an appropriate position and payload. The tickets are stored at values between 1 and 100. And then start the attack. You should find that at least 5 tickets will be returned with a static code of 200 indicating that they exist. All right, so let's go ahead and capture this request. Now we need to log in, and to do that, we're going to go to this login portal, and we're going to use the username and password that we were able to discover in the previous task. So this m.rivera and then let me in one. We'll log in as this user. And as you go through and you'll see there's ticket IDs, tickets, etc. And this is one of the URLs we need to actually capture. So make sure that your settings are configured correctly. Proxy is configured to send traffic over to Burp. Go over to Burp, make sure proxy intercept is turned on, and then you will just refresh the page in order to capture the request and make sure we got everything here inside of proxy. And this is exactly what we needed. Now you're going to right click in here, or you're going to use Control I to send this request over to Intruder, which I have already done. And you can take a look at what I have in here. I have the position set where it says get support ticket, and I want to target this number here. So I have that highlighted, and you click the add button to add a position there, and then go over to payload. Before we go to payloads, make sure the tag type is set to sniper. Then go over to payloads and change the payload type to numbers. And then under payload settings, make sure you have it set to 1 or from 1 to 100, and then step through it by 1. So it's going to go through 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, all the way over to 100. And then you're going to click Start Attack. Now, like I said, I've already done this to save time, so I'm going to minimize this. And this is the results, right? So as you're going through here, you're going to look at this by like something like length or something, or status code. And you're going to go through and take a look at each and every one of these to try to find the flag. And you can use this little search function down here like I did. The flags, you're going to have this curly brace in here, so that's what I searched off of to find the flag. So I'm going to go ahead and grab this out of here and then paste it. And we'll continue on to task number 12 here, where it says extra mile challenge. In this extra mile exercise, we will tackle a more challenging variant of the credential stuffing attack we previously performed. However, this time, additional measures have been implemented to make brute forcing more difficult. If you are comfortable using burp macros, you can attempt this challenge without the instructions below. Otherwise, let's proceed with it step by step. So if you already know what you're doing, be sure to try to do this yourself. Otherwise, you can just come back, follow through the room instructions, or you just watch this video. But we're going to go through in step by step. So let's go ahead and capture this request for this admin portal, looks like. Let me close out all of this stuff here. Discard. Go to back to burp and turn off intercept for now. There we go. And then flip back over to Firefox. And let's go to this admin portal. All right, so we need to capture the request for this portal. So go back to turn this proxy back on, intercept back on. Hit refresh so we can capture the details, and this is what it looks like. It says input type, hidden name, login token. All right, so they want us to take a look at the response. If we can just forward it and see if it shows up in here. Nope. Okay, let's try this. Okay, now we can see some information in here. And let's take a look. In this response, we noticed that alongside the username and password fields, there's now a session cookie as well as a CSRF cross-site request forgery token in the form as a hidden field. Refreshing the page reviews that both the session cookie and login token change with each request. This means that for every login attempt, we need to extract valid values for both the session cookie and login token. To accomplish this, we'll use burp macros to define a repeated set of actions macro to be executed before each request. This macro will extract unique values for the session cookie and login token, replacing them in every subsequent request of our attack. Okay, so we've already got this captured. Configure the positions the same way as you did for brute forcing the login. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look here. And this is not the one I needed. Let's just try this again. So go in, act like I'm logging in, capture this request, and there we go. Now let's go ahead and send this over to Intruder. This is what we need here. Okay, now that we have this information, let's go ahead and highlight our fields. We want to target here, add, and then add for the password as well. And they want us to use Pitchfork, apparently. Says, now switch over to Payloads tab and load in the same username and password list. So let's go ahead and switch over to Payloads. And let's load the usernames. Okay, and then switch over to 2 and load the passwords. So there we go. Up to this point, we have configured Intruder in almost the same way as our previous credential stuffing attack. This is where things start to get more complicated with the username and password parameters handled. We now need to find a way to grab the ever-changing login token and session cookie. Unfortunately, recursive grep won't work here due to the redirect response, so we can't do this entirely within Intruder. We will need to build a macro. Macros allow us to perform the same set of actions repeatedly. In this case, we simply want to send a GET request to admin login. Fortunately, setting this up is a straightforward process. Switch over to the main settings tab in the top right of Burp. So main settings, which is this here, and click on the sessions category. Okay. Scroll down to the bottom of the page to macros. There we go. And the add button, like so. The menu that appears will show us our request history. If there isn't a GET request to the admin login, let's already navigate to this location in your browser, and you should see a suitable request appear in the list. So we need to find this one to admin, and let's just scroll through here. Admin login. So this looks like one we could use. Let's just use this 200 one. Okay. Select OK. And then with the request select, click OK. Finally, give the macro a suitable name, and then click OK to finish the process. We'll just leave it as macro1. So finish it, OK. There are a lot of steps here, comparatively speaking. So the following GIF is the entire process. So just follow this if you got lost somewhere. Step number 5, now that we have a macro defined, we need to set session handling rules that define how the macro should be used. Still in the sessions category of the main settings, scroll up to the sessions handling. So let's scroll up to session handling rules, okay? Click add new rule. A new window will pop up, details and scope. We are in the details by default. Okay, fill in the appropriate description, which I'm just going to leave it as rule 1. Fill in, okay, in the tool scope section, deselect every checkbox other than intruder. So it's like deselect all these here. And then it says in the URL scope section, choose use suite scope. This will set the macro to only operate on sites that we have chosen in the global scope. As we discussed in Burp Basics, if you have not set a global scope, keep in mind the custom scope option as default, and then add the following URL to the scope in the section. So let's just do it this way. Use a custom include in scope. So let's go ahead and click add here. There we go. All right, now we have to switch back over to the details tab and look at the rule actions. Click the add button. Okay, add here. Add button to cause a drop down, then run macros. Okay, run a macro like so. Select run a macro from list and this new window appears. Select the macro we created earlier. As it stands, the macro will now overwrite all the parameters in our intruder requests before we send them. This is great as it means that we will get the login tokens and session cookies added straight into our request. That said, we should restrict which parameters and cookies are being updated before we start our attack. And it says we need to select only the following parameters and headers. All right. And you want us to click the edit button, enter a new item, fill text box, type in login. So let's go ahead and type this in. It's going to be login token. Select add, and then select close. Select update only the following cookies. All right, and click edit. Enter the session in the enter it here. Okay, and then click add and close. All right, then finally click OK. Now we should be set. And then watch this GIF if you're confused or lost. Now we're done. You should now have a macro defined that will substitute in the CSRF token and session cookie. All that's left to do is to switch back to Intruder and start the attack. Note, you should be getting 302 status code responses for every request attack. If you see 403, then your macro is not working properly. So let's go ahead and click OK here and switch back over to Intruder. And then they want us to start the attack, right? Sure, there's nothing else we need to do here. All right, so let's go ahead and start the attack. And looks like it's running properly. We're getting 302 errors. As the support login credential stuffing attack we carried out, the response codes here are the same. 302 redirects, once again, order your responses by length and find the valid credentials. Your results won't quite be as clear-cut as last time. You see quite a few different response lengths. However, the response that indicates a successful login should still stand out as being significantly shorter. Use the credentials you just found to log in. You may need to refresh the page for entering the credentials, and then you'll use the username and password combination again. So let's go ahead and wait till this finishes, and we'll come back and find the answer. Winner, winner, chicken dinner. Now this didn't even finish all the way before I found this. But anyway, like it says, sort by length, like so. And you can look at the one that's really short here. This is going to be the 661 in my case. And the username password combination is going to be o.bennett, and then the password is going to be Bella1. So let's go ahead and log in using these credentials. If we navigate back over to Firefox here, and let's just go ahead and just disable this. Stop this and refresh the page like so. So let's go ahead and log in as this o.bennett and then Bella1 as the password. Here we go. And admin home. All right. Profits for 2023. Let's continue on and close out this video with task number 13, conclusion. Congratulations on completing the Burp Suite Intruder Room. By now, you should have a solid understanding of how to effectively utilize Intruder to automate requests and perform various types of tasks. In the next room of the module, we will be looking at some of Burp Suite's other modules. So mark this as complete, and we're done here. Hopefully you guys found this video of value, followed along with me to learn with me. If you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing to the channel if you are new here, and hit that notification bell so you know every time I post. Hit the like button if you enjoyed the content. Comment below on your thoughts and opinions. As always, thank you all for watching, and I will see you later. Hey everybody, this is WireDogSec. Just a quick reminder to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell. Once you hit the notification bell, be sure to set to all notifications so you know every time I post to the channel, upload a video, all that good stuff. Let's continue to grow our glorious community here. We are in the cyber trenches. We're not just reporting on it. Be sure to check out my channel as well. I have tons of videos that you can see here, over 300 videos ready for you to check out and learn something from. Be sure to review my posts. I'm frequently posting new things to my channel here, including jobs and everything related to that. Also, I have tons of playlists here that you can review, make it more convenient for you. Anyway, happy defending, happy hacking, enjoy the video. Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. This is WireDogSec, back with another video for you guys. And today's video, we are continuing on with TryHackMe, the Junior Penetration Tester Learning Path, the Burp Suite area, and this room is the Burp Suite other modules. Take a dive into some of Burp Suite's lesser known modules. Now, let's go ahead and dive into it. Task 1, Introduction. Welcome to Burp Suite Other Modules Room. In addition to widely recognized Repeater and Intruders Room, Burp Suite incorporates several lesser-known modules. These will form the focus of this room's exploration. The spotlight will be on the decoder, compare, sequencer, and organizer tools. They facilitate operations with encoded text, enable comparison of datasets, allow the analysis of randomness with capture tokens, and help you store and annotate copies of HTTP messages that you may want to revisit later. Although these tasks appear straightforward, accomplishing them with Burp Suite can substantially save time, thus emphasizing the importance of learning to use these modules effectively. Without further ado, let's delve into the first tool, the decoder. And I've already deployed the attack box and the machine. Let's continue on to task number 2 here. Decoder overview. The decoder module of Burp Suite gives user data manipulation capabilities. As applied by its name, it not only decodes data intercepted during attack, but also provides the function to encode our own data, prepping it for transmission to the target. Decoder also allows us to create hash sums of data, as well as providing a smart decode feature, which attempts to decode provided data recursively until it is back to being plaintext, like magic, function of CyberChef. To access the decoder, navigate to the decoder tab from the top menu to view the available options. So let's go ahead and just show split view here, and let's go ahead and start up Burp. All right, now while that's loading, this interface lays out multitude of options. Number 1, this box serves as the workspace for entering or pasting data that requires encoding or decoding consistent with other modules of Burp Suite. Data can be moved to this area from different parts of the framework via the Send to Decoder option upon right-clicking, and that's this big text box here. Number 2, at the top of the list on the right, there's an option to treat the input as either text or hexadecimal byte values, and that's this here. And number 3, as we move down the list, drop-down menus are present to encode, decode, or hash the input. Number 3, and then number 4, the smart decode feature located at the end attempts to auto-decode the input. Upon entering the data into the input field, the interface replicates itself to present the output of our operation. We can then choose to apply further transformations using the same options, data, and see how it's now been translated into something else here. So let's go ahead and go to decoder tab here. Let's take a look here. And as we're talking, there's 1, and then 2, 3, and then 4 at the bottom. All right, which feature attempts to auto decode of the input? And that's going to be the smart decode. There we go. Number 3, we're going to talk about encoding and decoding with the decoder. Now, let's examine the manual encoding and the decoding options in detail. These are identical whether the decoding or encoding menu is chosen. Plain. This refers to the raw text before any transformations are applied. URL encoding is utilized to ensure the safe transfer of data in the URL of your web request. It involves substituting characters for their ASCII character code in a hexadecimal format preceded by percentage symbol. This method is vital for any type of web application testing. For instance, encoding the / character whose ASCII character code is 47 converts it to 2F in hexadecimal, thus becoming percentage 2F in URL encoding. The decoder can be used to verify this by typing a / in the input box and then selecting encode as URL. So if you go ahead and try that in here, / and then you want to encode as URL, and that's what it looks like. HTML. Entities encoding replaces special characters with an ampersand and followed by either a hexadecimal number or a reference to the character being escaped and ending with a semicolon. This method ensures the safe rendering of special characters in HTML and helps prevent attacks such as cross-site scripting or XSS. The HTML option in decoder allows any character to be encoded into its HTML escaped format or decode captured HTML entities. For instance, to decode a previously discussed quotation mark, input the encoded version and choose decode as. All right, so we have the ampersand, the QUOT, and then the semicolon at the end, and you can select decode as HTML. You can hit smart decode to try to do it itself, and it'll come back as that quotation mark as shown in the screenshot. Base64, a commonly used encoded method, converts any data into an ASCII compatible format. The under the hood functioning isn't crucial at this stage. However, interested individuals can find the underlying mathematics here, so check that out if you're interested. ASCII hex. This option transitions data between ASCII and hexadecimal representations. For instance, the word ASCII can be converted into hexadecimal number 415, yada yada yada. Each character is converted from its numeric ASCII representation into hexadecimal, hex, octal, and binary. These encoding methods apply solely to numeric inputs, converting between decimal, hexadecimal, octal, base 8, and binary representations. Gzip. Gzip compresses data, reducing file and page sizes before the browser transmission. Faster load times are highly desirable for developers looking to enhance their SEO score and avoid user inconvenience. Decoder facilitates the manual encoding and decoding of gzip data, although it often isn't valid ASCII/Unicode, for instance. And this is what it looks like. And SEO stands for search engine optimization, for those that did not know. These methods can be stacked. For example, a phrase Burp Suite decoder could be converted to ASCII hex and then octal, just like it shows here in the GIF. And combination of these methods grant us substantial control over the data we are encoding or decoding. Encoding/decoding method is color-coded, enabled swift identification of the applied transformation hex format. While inputting data in ASCII format is beneficial, there are times when byte by byte input editing is necessary. This is where hex view proves useful. Selectable above the decoding options, and that's what it looks like. This feature enables us to view and alter our data in hexadecimal byte format, a vital tool when working with binary files or other non-ASCII data. Smart decode. Lastly, we have the smart decode option. This feature tries to auto-decode encoded text. For instance, whatever this says here is automatically recognizes HTML encoded and is accordingly decoded, just like it shows in the GIF. But if you want to try it out yourself, you can type it in here. And then it says Burp Suite. While not perfect, this feature can be a quick solution for decoding unknown data chunks. Now, question time. Base 64, encode the phrase, let's start simple. So let's go ahead and copy and paste this over like so. And then it says it wants us to base 64 encoded. So let's go ahead and type that in. And this is what it looks like. All right, URL encode this data here and URL decode this data. So let's go ahead and plug it in here and then decode it. Next, decoding. So let's go ahead and paste this in. See how this works, guys. Use smart decode to decode this data. And what's the decoded text? Well, let's find out. "47." There we go. So I just hit smart decode on it and it automatically did it for me. Encode this phrase, encoding challenge. Okay. Start with base 64 encoding. Take the output of this and convert it to ASCII hex. Finally encode the hex string to octal. What's the final string? Okay. So first off, let's delete all this stuff out of here, paste it like so. And it says take the output of this, start with base 64 encoding. So encode as base 64 like so. All right, next step is to just take the output and convert it into ASCII. So encode as ASCII hex, and then this final string into octal. So octal. And this would be our answer here. All right, now let's go on to task number 4 here, decoder hashing. Hash, in addition to its encoding slash decoding functionality, decoder also offers the ability to generate hash sums for our data. Theory, hashing is a one-way process that transforms data into a unique signature. For a function to qualify as a hashing algorithm, the output it generates must be irreversible. A proficient hashing algorithm ensures that every data input will generate completely unique hash. For instance, using MD5 algorithm to produce a hash sum for the text, MD5 sum returns the following. Using the same algorithm for MD5 sum yields an entirely different hash despite the close resemblance in the input. Therefore, hashes are commonly used to verify the integrity of files and documents, as even a tiny alteration to the file significantly changes the hash sum. Note the MD5 algorithm is deprecated and should not be used for contemporary applications. Moreover, hashes are used to securely store passwords, since the one-way hashing process makes the passwords relatively secure even if the database is compromised. When a user creates a password, the application hashes and stores it. During login, the application hashes the submitted password and compares it against the stored hash. If they match the password correct, using this method, an application never needs to store the original plaintext password. Right? To think of hashing, just think of something like a hamburger, right? You got the ground beef and then you cook it, or sorry, you got the cow and you convert the cow into ground beef, right? You can't reverse that. Or something like applesauce. You got a bunch of apples, right? And you convert the apples into applesauce. You cannot reverse that action there. Hashing and decoder. Decoder allows us to create hash sums for data directly within Burp Suite. It operates similarly to encoding slash decoding options we discussed earlier. Specifically, we can click on the hash drop-down menu and select an algorithm from the list. Note this list is significantly longer than the encoding slash decoding algorithms. It's worth scrolling through to see the many available hashing algorithms. Continuing with our earlier example, let's enter MD5 sum into the input box down the list until we find MD5. Applying this automatically makes or takes us to the hex view. So let's go ahead and try this stuff here. Clear all this stuff out of here and then type in MD5 sum. All right, so and if you look at the hashes, there's a bunch of them in here, right? All right, and we want to find MD5. There we go. And that's what it looks like. A hashing algorithm's output does not yield pure ASCII slash Unicode text. Hence, it's customary to convert the algorithm's output into a hexadecimal string. This is the hash form you might be familiar with. Let's complete this by applying an ASCII hex encoding to the hash sum to create the next hex string from our initial example. This is what it looks like. So they want us to add ASCII hex. So let's go ahead and do that here. And this is what it looks like. Using decoder, what is the SHA-256 hash sum of the phrase let's get hashing? So let's go ahead and copy and paste this stuff again, like so, and then we'll hash it as SHA-256. All right, now that's hashed as SHA-256, wants us to convert it to hex, or ASCII hex, and that's what it looks like. So let's go ahead and copy and paste this over. Next one is generate an MD4 hash sum of the phrase insecure algorithms. Okay, and then encoded as base 64, not ASCII hex before submitting. All right, so let's go ahead and clear all this crap out of here. Type this in, and then we want to hash this first as MD5, MD4. So let's go ahead and find that real quick, MD4, and then encoded as base 64. There we go. Now let's look at an in-context example. First, download the file attached to this task. This file can be downloaded from the deployed VM using this following command, this wget zip. So let's just go ahead and try this out real quick. Wget, and it says it was saved, and you can double check it using that. Let's just do it, make it easy. And we have it right here, altered keys. Now read the problem specification below. Some joker has messed with my SSH key. There are 4 keys in the directory and I have no idea which is the real one. The MD5 hash sum for my key is the following. Could you find it for me? What is the correct key name? Alright, so let's go ahead and unzip this and figure out what's going on here. Hey everybody, just a quick little blurb here. As you can see here, most people that view my channel are not subscribers. If you're new here, please consider subscribing to the channel. If you're enjoying the video, please consider hitting the like button. It helps get me in the algorithm, helps spread the good word out there, helps bring more people and increase our glorious community here. All right, I'm all about helping out others. I know what it's like to come up in cybersecurity or even try to get into cybersecurity and not knowing where to look. I'm just having this channel up so I can help out other people. All right, that's all I got. There's a couple different ways you can do this. All right, the first way is after you unzip the files. As you can see here, I've already done that. LS, and then this is what the keys look like. And you can go through, you can cat through them. All right, key, whatever. All right, see the contents. You can also open them up in like a text editor or whatever. Now, the quick way to do this would be to use something like MD5 sum, and then the name of the key. Key 3 is going to be the one we're looking for. As you can see there, it matches. Now, if you want to do it the long way, you can go ahead and copy the contents of the keys and plug them into Burp here inside of the decoder. Now, once you do that, you want to make sure you go to hash and select MD5 under here. Right, select MD5, and then after that, you want to encode it as ASCII hex. And then once you do that, you should get the actual hash for it, the MD5 hash. So let's just use this as an example. If I go in and just delete it, whatever. Okay, now if I go in and hash MD5 like so, okay, and I go in and just encode it as hex, and there you go. Now let's continue on to task number 5. We're going to talk about compare overview. Compare, as the name implies, lets us compare 2 pieces of data either by ASCII words or by bytes. Let's first check out the interface. So if we move over here and we go and look at compare to just follow along and check out the interface. The interface can be divided into 3 main sections. Number 1, on the left, we see the items to be compared. When we load data into compare, it appears as rows in these tables. We select 2 datasets to compare. Number 2, on the upper right, we have the options for pasting data from the clipboard paste, loading data from a file, load, removing the current row, remove, and clearing all datasets, clear. Number 3, lastly, on the lower right, we can choose to compare our datasets by either words or bytes. It doesn't matter which of these buttons you select initially because this can be changed later. These are the buttons we click when we're ready to compare the selected data. Just like most Burp Suite modules, we can also load data into compare from other modules by right-clicking and choosing Send to compare. Once we've added at least 2 datasets to compare and press on either words or bytes, a pop-up window shows us the comparison. This window also has 3 distinct sections. Number 1, compared data occupies most of the window. It can be viewed in either text or hex format. The initial format depends on whether we chose to compare by words or bytes in the previous window, but this can be overridden by using the buttons above the comparison boxes. The comparison key is at the bottom left, showing which colors represent modified, deleted, and added data between the data. There are 2 data sets. Number 3, sync views. Checkbox is at the bottom right of the window. When selected, it ensures that both sets of data will sync formats. In other words, If you change one of them to hex view, the other will adjust to match. The window title displays the total number of differences found. Task number 6, compare example. We now know what compare does, but how is this useful? There are many situations where being able to quickly compare two potentially very large pieces of data can come in handy. For example, when performing a login brute force or credential stuffing attack with Intruder, you may wish to compare two responses with different lengths to see where the differences lie and whether these differences indicate a successful login. Practical example, navigate to this URL here. So let's go ahead and do that. Open up Firefox. It says try to log in with an invalid username and password, capture the request with Burp Proxy, send the request to repeater with Control plus R or Mac equivalent, or by right clicking the request and then send it to repeater. So let's go ahead and paste this in here. And let's make sure that this is turned on to go to Burp. So we'll just do test and I guess test 123 the password. And let's go over to Burp, make sure this is actually turned on. All right, intercepts on. So let's go ahead, send it. There we go. Now we got the request ready to go. And I want to send this over to repeater, so right click and then send it to repeater. Use Control R. Okay, send the request. Click on the response and choose send to repeater. Okay, so I'm sorry, compare. So it's already in here. So click send, and then we want to send the request. I'm sorry, yeah, send the request. Oh, sorry, right click on the response and send to compare. So let's go ahead and do that. Send to compare. All right. Now we have it in compare ready to go. In the repeater tab, change the credentials to the following here. So go back over here and let's go ahead and change these to support underscore admin, and then password's going to be that password there. So I'm going to copy and paste this like so. Send it again, and then send the pass the new response to compare. All right. Compare the two responses by word. Can you identify the main differences? All right, so let's do this. It says compare words, and there we go. There's the differences. All right, so that's complete. And let's continue on to task number 7 here. They have the differences highlighted, it looks like here. Obviously, the time's different, and the session cookie is different. Yeah, modified, deleted, added. It gives you the keys down here of what to look for inside of here. So let's go ahead and continue on. Sequencer overview, task number 7. Sequencer allows us to evaluate entropy or randomness of tokens. Tokens are strings used to identify something and should ideally be generated in a cryptographically secure manner. These tokens should be session cookies or cross-site request forgery (CSRF) tokens used to protect form submissions. If these tokens aren't generated securely, then in theory we could predict upcoming token values. The implications could be substantial. For instance, if the token in question is used for password resets. Let's start by looking at sequencer interface. So let's go ahead and move over to sequencer. Yep. We have two main ways to perform token analysis with sequencer. Live capture. This is the more common method and is the default subtab for sequencer. Live capture lets us pass a request that will generate a token to sequencer for analysis. For example, or instance, we might want to pass a post request to a login endpoint to sequencer, knowing that the server will respond with the cookie. With the request passed in, we can instruct sequencer to start a live capture. It will then automatically make the same request thousands of times, storing the generated token samples for analysis. After collecting enough samples, we can stop the sequencer and allow it to analyze the capture tokens. Manual load. This allows us to load a list of pre-generated tokens samples directly into Sequencer for analysis. Using manual load means we don't need to make thousands of requests to our target, which can be noisy and resource intensive. However, it does require that we have a large list of pre-generated tokens. We will be focusing on live captions room. What does the sequencer allow us to evaluate? So I'm just going to copy and paste it while I'm up here. But yeah, the randomness of the tokens is what allows us to evaluate via sequencer. So task number 8 here, and we're going to talk about live capture. Great, let's dive into the process of using sequencer's live capture for entropy analysis on the anti-brute force token used in the admin login form, which is found here. So let's go ahead and navigate to this particular location here. Right click on the request and select send to repeater. So let's go ahead and turn this on, enable it to repeater. So I'm just gonna hit refresh here, send it over to repeater, go to proxy, and sorry, not repeater, but go over to burp and send this over to sequencer, like so. And then in the token location within response section, we can select between cookie, form field, and custom location. Since we're testing the login token in this case, select the form field radio button and choose the login token from the drop-down menu. Okay, so there's the from field, and then we need to select this login token. In this situation, we can safely leave all other options at their default values. So click on the Start Live Capture button. A new window will pop up indicating that a live capture is in progress and displaying the number of tokens captured so far. Wait until a sufficient number of tokens are captured. Approximately 10,000 should suffice. The more tokens we have, the more precise our analysis will be. Once around 10,000 tokens are captured, click on pause and then select Analyze Now button. And we're almost there. We're about halfway. It's important to note that we could have also chosen to stop the capture. However, by opting to pause, we keep the option to resume the capture later if the report doesn't have enough samples to accurately calculate the token's entropy. If we wished for periodic updates on the analysis, we could have also selected the Auto Analyze checkbox. This option tells Burp to perform the entropy analysis after every 2,000 requests, and looks like we're there, so I'm going to hit pause. Analyze now. Okay, let's finish this up. Every 2,000 requests, providing frequent updates that will become increasingly accurate as more samples are loaded into sequencer. At this point, it's also worth noting that we could choose to copy or save the captured tokens for further analysis at a later time. Upon clicking Analyze Now button, Burp will analyze the token's entropy and generate a report. What is the overall quality of randomness estimated to be? So let's take a look here. Overall results. The overall quality of randomness within the sample is estimated to be excellent. And that's what we'll go with. Oh, if I can type it in here correctly. There we go. And I remember seeing something like this in the actual API Sec University course. So be sure to check that out if you're interested. But let's go ahead and continue on here. To task number 9, sequencer analysis. Now that we have a report for the entropy analysis of our token, it's time to analyze it. The generated entropy analysis report is split into 4 primary sections. The first of these is the summary of the results. The summary gives us the following, which we're looking at right now. Overall result. This gives a broad assessment of the security of the token generation mechanism. In this case, the level of entropy indicates that the tokens are likely securely generated. Effective entropy. This measures the randomness of the tokens. The effective entropy of 117 or 117 bits is relatively high, indicating that the tokens are sufficiently random and therefore secure against prediction or brute force attacks. Reliability. The significance level of 1% implies that there is a 99% confidence in the accuracy of the results. This level of confidence is quite high, providing assurance in the accuracy of the effective entropy estimation. And you got sample here. This provides details about the token samples analyzed during the entropy testing process, including the number of tokens and their characteristics. All right, Now you can go ahead and look around in here and you can see everything they're talking about. While the summary report often provides enough information to assess the security of the token generation process, it's important to remember that further investigation may be necessary in some cases. The character level and bit level analysis can provide more detailed insights into the randomness of the token, especially when the summary results raise potential concerns. While the entropy report can provide a strong indicator of the security of the token generation mechanism, there needs to be more definitive proof. Other factors could also impact the security of the tokens and the nature of probability, and statistics means there's always a degree of uncertainty. That said, an effective entropy of 117 bits will, or with a significant level of 1%, suggest a robustly secure token generation process. All right, and we're now on task number 10, organizer overview. So let's go ahead and hop out of this and go to organizer. The organizer module of Burp Suite is designed to help you store and annotate copies of HTTP requests that you may want to revisit later. This tool can be particularly useful for organizing your penetration testing workflow. Here are some of the key features. You can store requests that you want to investigate later, save requests that you've already identified as interesting, or save requests that you want to add to a report later. You can send HTTP requests to Burp Organizer from other Burp modules such as proxy or repeater. You can do this by right-clicking the request and sending or selecting send to organizer or using default control plus O. Each HTTP request that you send to organizer is a read-only copy of the original request, saved at the point you sent it to organizer. Requests are stored in a table which contains columns such as the request index number, the time the request was made, workflow status, burp tool that the request was sent from, HTTP method, server hostname, blah, 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 um, the length of the response in bytes, and any notes that you may have made. So if you want to just play around with this, let's just go to proxy and then right click, send it to organizer. Organizer's glowing, and there we have it. This is what it looks like. Okay, now let's continue on. Requests are stored in a table which contains columns such as the request index number, the time the request was made, workflow status, burp tool, yada yada yada. Okay, I've already read over that, so let's go down here. To view the request and response, one, click on any organizer item. Okay, we already clicked on one. The request and response are both read-only. You can search within the request response, select request, and then use the search bar below the request, which is down here. Oops, let me go back. Exit out of this. But yeah, search bar is down there. And let's see here. Are saved requests read-only? Yes, they are. And task number 11, we're going to close it out with the conclusion. Congratulations on completing the Burp Suite Other Modules room. To summarize, the coder allows you to encode and decode data, making it easier to read and understand the information being transferred. Compare enables you to spot the differences between two data sets, which can be pivotal in identifying vulnerabilities or anomalies. Signature helps in performing entropy analysis on tokens, providing insights into the randomness of their generation and consequently their security level. Organizer enables you to store and annotate copies of HTTP requests that you may want to revisit later. Having a fundamental understanding of these tools equips you with a broader skill set when it comes to web application penetration testing. In the next and final room of this module, you will be exploring the Burp Suite extensions tool. So we'll be looking at that in the next video. And that wraps up this video. If you are new here, please consider hitting that subscribe button with the notification bell. Hit the like button if you're enjoying the content. Comment below on your thoughts and opinions. As always, thank you all for watching. Have a nice day, and I'll see you later. Hey everybody, this is WireDogSec. Just a quick reminder to subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell. Once you hit the notification bell, be sure to set to all notifications so you know every time I post to the channel, upload a video, all that good stuff. Let's continue to grow our glorious community here. We are in the cyber trenches. We're not just reporting on it. Be sure to check out my channel as well. I have tons of videos that you can see here, over 300 videos ready for you to check out and learn something from. Be sure to review my posts. I'm frequently posting new things to my channel here, including jobs and everything related to that. Also, I have tons of playlists here that you can review make it more convenient for you. Anyway, happy defending, happy hacking, enjoy the video. Welcome back to my channel. This is WireDogSec, back with another video for you guys. Today's video, we are going to continue on inside of TryHackMe. This is the Junior Penetration Tester Learning Path. This is the Burp Suite area, and this is the Burp Suite Extensions room. So let's go ahead and dive into it. Task 1. Introduction. Welcome to the Burp Suite Extensions room. In this room, we will explore the modular aspects of Burp Suite, focusing on its exposed functionality that allows developers to create additional modules for the framework. While coding Burp modules is beyond the scope of this module, we will briefly examine the API documentation and discuss the typical process of adding new modules using Burp Suite BApp Store. To complete this room, you will not need a target machine, but make sure you have access to a copy of Burp Suite. If you are using the attack box, ensure that it is started now by pressing the Start Attack Box button, which I've already done. And then let's dive into the exciting world of Burp Suite extensions and extensibility. All right, task number 2 here. And we're going to talk about the extensions interface. Now, let's just navigate over to extensions real quick. Okay. The extensions interface in Burp Suite provides an overview of the extensions loaded into the tool. Let's take a look at the different components of this interface. And you got number 1 here, which is the big area here, extensions list. The top box displays a list of extensions that are currently installed in Burp Suite for the current project. It allows you to activate or deactivate individual extensions. Number 2, managing extensions. On the left side of the extensions interface, there are options to manage extensions. You got add. You can use this button to add new extensions from the files on your disk. You got remove. This button allows you to uninstall select extensions for Burp Suite up, down. These buttons control the order in which installed extensions are listed. The order determines the sequence in which extensions are invoked when processing traffic, yada, yada, yada. Number 3 here is details, outputs, and errors. And since towards the bottom of the window, there are sections for the currently selected extension details. This section provides information about the selected extension, such as its name, version, and description. Output extensions can produce output during their execution, and this section displays any relevant output or results. Errors. If an extension encounters any errors during execution, this will be shown in the section. This can be useful for debugging and troubleshooting extension issues. In summary, the extensions interface in Burp Suite allows users to manage and monitor the installed extensions, activate or deactivate them for specific projects, and view important details, outputs, and errors related to extension. By using extensions, Burp Suite becomes a powerful and customizable platform for various security testing and web application assessment tasks. Answer the questions. Are extensions invoked in ascending or descending order? Extensions are applied in descending order. So there you go. Should be D. Hey everybody, just a quick little blurb here. As you can see here, most people that view my channel are not subscribers. If you're new here, please consider subscribing to the channel. If you're enjoying the video, please consider hitting the like button. It helps get me in the algorithm, helps spread the good word out there, helps bring more people and increase our glorious community here. All right, I'm all about helping out others. I know what it's like to come up in cybersecurity or even try to get into cybersecurity and not knowing where to look. I'm just having this channel up so I can help out other people. All right, that's all I got. All right, let's continue on to task number 3. We're going to talk about the BApp Store. Let's take a look here. In Burp Suite, the BApp Store, Burp Suite or Burp App Store allows us to easily discover and integrate official extensions seamlessly into the tool. Extensions can be written in various languages, with Java and Python being the most common choices. Java extensions integrate automatically with the Burp Suite framework, while Python extensions require the Python interpreter. To get a feel of the BApp Store and install a Java extension, let's install the Request Timer extension, written by Nick Taylor. The Request Timer extension enables us to log the time and it takes for each request to receive a response. This functionality is particularly useful for identifying and exploiting time-based vulnerabilities. For instance, if a login form takes an extra second to process requests with valid usernames compared to invalid ones, we can use the time differences to determine which usernames are valid. Follow these steps to install the request timer extension in the BApp Store. Well, let's go ahead and follow these instructions. The BApp Store. Use these search functions to find request timer. So let's go ahead and type it in. Request timer. There we go. Now if we click it and let's see what it says down here. Request timer. Click on the return extension to view more details and click install. All right. There we go. Now it's installing. After successfully installing the extension, you will notice a new tab appearing in the main menu at the top of the Burp Suite interface. Different extensions may have varying behaviors. Some may add new items to right-click context menus, while others create entirely new tabs in the main menu bar. As this installation is simply an example of using the BApp Store, we won't cover how to use the request timer here. However, I highly recommend switching to the new tab and exploring the extension to understand its functionalities better. The request timer can be valuable in various scenarios, especially when assessing web application security and identifying potential time-based vulnerabilities. So if you just go in here and you play around with it and look around, and this is what it looks like. So let's go ahead and continue on to the next task. I'm going to talk about Jython. And let's see. Note, if you're using the attack box, Jython integration has already been done for you, so you can skip this task. To use Python or modules in Burp Suite, we will need to include the Jython interpreter jar file, which is a Java implementation of Python. The Jython interpreter enables us to run Python-based extensions with Burp Suite. All right, so I'm using the attack box, which is already has Jython on here apparently. So be sure to run this on your own box, your own Kali box, or what have you, and install Jython. Just follow these instructions here, pause the video, and follow the instructions. And then we're going to continue on to the next task. So I'm going to scroll back down. You'll also install this whenever you do coursework, like the coursework from API Sec University. They have you install Jython in one of the courses. I believe it's the API penetration testing course specifically by Corey Ball. But anyway, let's continue. You can find all of this stuff in the description area of the video, by the way. Task number 5, the Burp Suite API. In the Burp Suite extensions module, you have access to a wide range of API endpoints that allow you to create and integrate your modules with Burp Suite. These APIs expose various functionalities, enabling you to extend the capabilities of Burp Suite to suit your specific needs. To view the available API endpoints, navigate to the APIs subtab within the extensions module. So we're in extensions, there's API. Each item listed in the left-handed panel represents a different API endpoint that can be accessed within extensions. And this is what they look like here. The extensions, APIs, give developers significant power and flexibility when writing custom extensions. You can use these APIs to seamlessly interact with Burp Suite's existing functionality and tailor your extensions to perform specific tasks. Burp Suite supports multiple languages for writing extensions, such as number 1, Java natively. You can directly use Java to write extensions for Burp Suite, taking advantage of the powerful APIs available. Number 2, Python via Jython. If you prefer Python as a programming language, you can utilize Jython, which is a Java implementation of Python, to create Burp Suite extensions. Number 3, Ruby via JRuby. Developers familiar with Ruby can leverage JRuby, a Java implementation of Ruby, to build Burp Suite extensions. See, they give you a couple different options here if you want to build out your own extensions and such. It's important to note that coding your extensions for Burp Suite can be a complex task, and it goes beyond the scope of this module. However, suppose you are interested in exploring this area and creating custom extensions. In that case, Portswigger, which are the creators of Burp, provides a comprehensive reference that is an excellent resource for developing Burp Suite extensions. To learn more about Burp Suite extension development and to access the detailed reference, you can visit Portswigger's official documentation. This resource will provide the information and guidance needed to create powerful and customized extensions that enhance your experience with the Burp Suite. So if you're interested in creating your own extensions, be sure to check out the documentation and get to creating your own extension. Now, task number 6, we're going to wrap it up here. Congratulations, you have completed the Burp Suite extensions room. By going through this module, you have gained valuable insights into how to use extensions to enhance the functionality of Burp Suite. You now have a solid understanding of how to install and manage extensions from the BApp Store to extend Burp Suite's capabilities, integrate Jython to leverage Python modules within Burp Suite, explore the APIs, allowing you to develop custom Java, Python, or Ruby modules. With these skills, you can utilize the Burp Suite Extensions module to its fullest potential in your web application security testing and vulnerability assessments. Great job completing the module, and kudos for you for dedication and effort. Keep exploring, learning, and refining your cybersecurity skills. Happy hacking. I can use Burp extensions. All right, complete. Now that wraps up this video, but hey, this does not wrap up the learning process. Now, if you enjoyed this series of Burp Suite videos, be sure to check the description box of this video and check out the Portswigger Web App Security Academy, and it'll take you through a lot of different training modules utilizing burps, many different capabilities and such. We'll be going through modules that cover like cross-site scripting, SQL injection, file inclusion, stuff like that. It's very good. I've been going through it. It's been a while since I took a look at it, but it's good training if you're interested in getting started into web application security. There's also other links in there. There's even a link to a practical web application security testing course that you can sign up for free. It's basically like pay as you can, so you can pick the free option, or you can pay like the $5, $10, or however it is. But anyway, thank you all for taking the time to watch my video. Have a nice day, and I will see you later.